Congress has introduced new legislation aimed at strengthening the Internal Civil Rights Office at the Department of Homeland Security. It seeks to prevent abuses by the department's Office of Intelligence and Analysis. A top official there has reportedly limited how much oversight can be conducted. That arm of DHS has drawn recent scrutiny after releasing intelligence reports to law enforcement on journalists and protesters. Some critics are now pushing for DHS to be dismantled as the Trump administration deploys federal agents to crack down on crime. Now, that includes former national security official Richard Clarke, who in a recent op-ed wrote DHS has become synonymous with, quote, unsympathetic government overreach, malevolence, and dysfunction. And Richard Clarke joins me now. Welcome, Richard. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
So, Richard, you write that blocking the department's creation was one of the few things you and Vice President Dick Cheney agreed on. Tell us why exactly is the DHS dysfunctional?
Well, it was created out of 17 agencies that were all merged together simultaneously. 17 agencies that had been in 5 different federal departments. And they do very different things. Among them are FEMA, which recovers after hurricanes, the Coast Guard, which does maritime safety and security, and immigration, TSA, Customs, the Cybersecurity Agency, Secret Service. It's just too big. It's one of the largest federal departments. It has over 250,000 people working for it. Many of them are police officers, federal police officers. And it has achieved a reputation in Washington of not working, of being a place where the employees don't want to be there. The agencies don't want to be there. Secret Service and the Coast Guard have been trying to get out of it almost ever since it was created. And now it has become a symbol for babies in cages, for riot police looking like they're ready for World War III, scarfing innocent civilians who are just protesting off the streets of American cities. The only way we can rebuild trust between the department and the American people is to reconfigure it, repurpose it, make it more manageable. And to make it more manageable, we have to break it up into at least 2 different departments.
So tell us about your recommendations, because in your piece you say the next administration should rethink this department entirely. How would you break that up into 2 different departments?
Well, I think there's an issue here of span of control. How much can one secretary run? And I think this is too big for any one secretary, too diverse for any one secretary. So I would create a Department of Protection and Public Safety that would have the protective arms, the Coast Guard, TSA, FEMA, Secret Service, the Cyber Agency, just those. And then the agencies that do immigration and customs and border control, I would put together as one agency, perhaps within the Department of Justice, where the Attorney General would provide oversight. I think that way we could have a public safety and protection department that the American voter, the American people would identify with, rather than fearing, rather than mocking.
So as you mentioned, the department was created back in 2003 in response to the September 11th terror attacks. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought at the time the idea was to make sure all of these agencies were communicating, that there was a lack of interagency communication. Can you talk a little bit about how the DHS actually stacks up in terms of whether these organizations now have a better communication with each other? And when it comes to counterterrorism, is it actually effective?
Well, they never had a problem communicating with each other. I think that was a myth. There was a problem between CIA and FBI communicating with each other, at least on the case of 9/11 and those particular al-Qaeda members who came into the country. CIA didn't tell the FBI that. But aside from that, the agencies involved here have very little to do with counterterrorism. Homeland Security was sold to the Congress as a response to 9/11. But Homeland Security is not the lead agency for dealing with terrorism. Domestically, that's the FBI. And the FBI is not in the Department of Homeland Security. Overseas, counterterrorism is done by the military and by CIA. Homeland Security has very few responsibilities when it comes to counterterrorism. And I think people don't know that because they've watched a TV show for many years called Homeland, which they think has something to do with the Homeland Department. But what you see on that TV show is nothing that what the real Homeland Department does.
And how is it that now, though, this organization has morphed into, like you suggest, this agency that just strikes fear into the hearts of many Americans, like as you see now being sent to some cities? How did it become that?
Well, I think before the Trump administration, DHS was known as an agency that just didn't work well. It was hard to manage, that hadn't ever come together, hadn't ever gelled. Since the Trump administration, it's been known as an agency that does things that are malevolent, that aren't good government, that are mean and nasty to children, to protesters. Trump has used it as his own little play tool. But what is interesting is he has done that without ever really having managers in place. He issues orders, or his staff issue orders, to career officers over there who have to comply, but he won't appoint anybody to run it. There's no Secretary of Homeland Security. In fact, of the top 20 jobs in the department that have to be confirmed by the Senate, 17 of them are vacant. And Trump likes it this way, because if you appoint someone and you get them confirmed by the Senate, then those people can be hauled up before the House and the Senate for oversight hearings. And I think he mistakenly believes that the Congress can't do oversight if he has only acting officials in place.
Well, Richard Clarke, thank you so much for that fascinating look inside the Department of Homeland Security. It's something that every American should hear. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.